Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Noxious Anonymous, and welcome to the watch along number 3 for Twin Peaks 2017 or Twin Peaks The Return, or I don't know, whatever we're calling it. With me tonight, actually, I'm not doing it solo. I got Eric here with me. Thank you, Eric, for joining me. Appreciate it.
No problem. I think for this one, we need both our brains to wrap around this.
Yeah, a lot of people thought episodes 1 and 2 what was a mind trip. Well, they hadn't seen anything until episode 3. Now, I will say this: many of you have not seen episodes 3 and 4 yet because they're going to air this weekend on Showtime, and some people don't have the streaming ability. So, if you haven't seen these episodes, do not watch these watch-alongs, and
Yeah.
because we're going to be talking all
And
kinds of spoilers.
and out of context, it's going to sound like we're insane what we're
Yeah.
going to be talking about. So,
But
definitely.
I will argue this though. The first time you see episodes 3 and 4, they are kind of bat nuts,
Yeah.
insane. But when you kind of look back over them and you kind of re-examine them, you'll be surprised just how linear and straightforward it is if you just break it down, which we'll get into.
Right.
So for those of you who don't know what a watch along is, well, that was a tongue twister. It's basically like Eric and I are going to watch the show. We're going to watch the episode 3. Let me do it my best Kyle MacLachlan impersonation. The episode is called "Call for Help," and you guys are going to watch along with us, and then we're going to talk, and we're going to basically act like we're in the same room, and you guys are going to throw out comments, and we're going to throw out our comments, and it's going to be just super fun and super cool, and I'm just so happy you guys are all here watching this with us. Okay, Eric, before we get into a minor discussion, before we start the episode, I want you guys to get situated and get all synced up. I'm watching this on the Showtime streaming app if you guys want to watch it that way. I don't know if it's available yet on iTunes or anything like that. I know it's not on Vudu yet, streaming service, but is Showtime streaming the only way you can access it legally?
I think it has to be Showtime affiliated because you can get it through the Showtime channel on Amazon. So if you have a
Okay.
subscription through that, and Hulu, of course, has a relationship with Showtime as well, where you can get it.
Right. Okay, so without getting into like too many spoilers right away, because we haven't talked about episode 4 yet. That'll be tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's watch along will be episode 4. Eric, I have to just ask you, we have not talked since that countdown video we did on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
So I know you had to wait a little bit until your child went to sleep to watch these.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you watched these 4? I mean, I know there was many ups and downs for you, I'm sure, but what was your takeaway from watching these 4 episodes? Are you pleased with what you've seen so far?
Yes. So I'm actually on the couch where I watched it. I actually thought it'd be better for this. I have got the TV up here, so I'll kind of watch that way. I sat there for like the 4 hours. Again, my wife was with me, so I wasn't locked in place, but I mean, I was probably like this for like 4 hours straight. And just the experience of, I think I thought I'd mentioned this to you earlier because you and I, we talk offline sometimes. Specifically the part in part 1 when it's the shot of the driving down the road and the car lights, the classic Lynchian shot,
right,
with that Lynch remix of American Girl.
Yeah, American Woman.
There was something about, I'm sorry, American Woman. There's something about that just gave me chills. And then the reveal that was Doppelganger Cooper getting out of the car. I just remember being overcome.
But see, I knew it. The moment you see those lights going down the road and that slowed down music.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into this in a discussion in a few minutes, but I knew that was Bob, Doppelganger Cooper, whatever you want to call him, going down the road, because it's all slowed down the way Bob sounds when he's killing Madeline.
Yeah.
And you just know that this is going to be the badass reveal of what we're gonna get. Now, what I was not expecting was Kyle to get out of that car with that long hair and that outfit, right? And he walks up to that guy on the steps and just takes that guy out.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my god, like we've always seen Bob as being this this inhabiting spirit that is a predatory kind of thing on Laura and just around the town of Twin Peaks, but we've never seen him like embody and like in someone that's relatively strong and capable. And he just owns that moment. And when he walks into that little shack and sits down and stuff, and he just kind of sits in that chair, kind of like the way he is in those Above the Convenience Store scene in Fire Walk with Me and The Missing Pieces. He's so in control of himself, and he knows when he's going to enact violence and when he's going to be withdrawn. I don't know. I just think Kyle MacLachlan, I know I've only seen 4 episodes, but I'm saying it's going to be a shame if he doesn't get an Emmy nomination for this thing.
Right. Or 2 things. So when you see him and he gets out of the car, my initial reaction was just to be overcome, because it's, for so long we were in stasis. The shot of Cooper smashing his head, looking at Bob in the mirror, and then Fire Walk with Me. We've talked before, I think of it as like a closed loop. That here we had new story unfolding, and that there he is. There's the doppelganger. I was overcome. Like, that scene, I think, is what did it for me. The Red Room scenes, again, I was really into it, but like that, I think, was the one where we were in the real world now, and I was just overcome. Point 2 would be, and I think we're going to talk about this later, I'm not sure I agree that Doppelganger, Coop, and Bob are one and the same. I have a theory about that, and we can talk about that now or whenever you want to talk about it. But I think that the doppelganger is his own kind of entity.
Oh, I agree. But I think that Bob hitched a ride out with him.
I completely agree with that. But I don't think that Bob possesses him or is inside of him the way he was with Leland. Like with Leland, he was literally hijacking him and kind of coming out and being a presence at times, whereas I think that Doppelganger Coop is fully in control of his faculties, and that Bob just hitched a ride out. I think from a behind the scenes standpoint, I think it was just a very powerful image at the end of season 2 to show Bob staring back at Cooper in that mirror. And I think this is how Lynch and Frost have worked it out. Again, I don't want to bog down the whole chat with this.
But I'm gonna slightly disagree. Just because I think that so much of what we've seen so far of Twin Peaks, a lot has stayed the same.
Right.
Ben Horn, we haven't even dealt with his head wound so far. He's just back in control of the Great Northern.
Yep.
Dr. Jacoby has got his glasses on. Cooper's in the Black Lodge. Hawk, Andy, and Lucy are at the sheriff's station. So many things. Lucy's in the first episode, sitting at the desk, and she's got the deck of cards laid out, much like we were at the end of season 2. So so much has just stayed the same. So until the show tells me differently, I'm going to assume that Doppelganger Cooper is out there in the world. Bob hitched a ride out with him, and Bob was inside Leland and would get kind of suppressed and then come out, right? But I think that Bob can come out of Doppelganger Cooper, do some crap around the world or whatever he wants to do, and then go back in. But I don't really think that Doppelganger Cooper is just kind of his. I mean, because Leland was a fully formed human being that was possessed by Bob. This is only one half of Cooper.
Well, I mean, again, we don't know enough about the rules, but I mean, to me, it just seemed like it was, because I mean, when you think about how they talked about it, it's like that you always face your shadow self, like kind of your alternate, and that's why I think even from a visual standpoint, because you were talking about how Doppelganger Cooper even dresses like Bob. Visually, he looks like Bob. My explanation for that was just slightly simpler in that I think they just wanted to show a really strong juxtaposition between our Coop is in the black trim suit, his hair's nicely coiffed, he's just very straightforward, clean. Doppelganger Coop is, raw, and like you say, like even the way he moves, like he's just this force. Whereas Cooper, very streamlined, very precise. I thought of it more as like a visual sort of a storytelling angle that just purely for the narrative purposes. This is how he appears. This is how he's represented. Whereas our Coop, we know who he is. But and then meanwhile, and again, I don't want to get into the details of this episode too much, but there's an alternative appearance too of Kyle MacLachlan that bears fruit. That's
well, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm gonna go with my theory of it's Doppelganger Cooper controlled by Bob, and Bob can come and go at his own will. That's just, I mean, until the show tells me differently, I'm gonna have to just stick with that. I mean, you got yours, I got mine. That's the great thing about David Lynch. You can interpret it.
Oh yeah.
Until the show tells us a definitive thing,
right?
We can interpret it however we want.
Right.
But we have to just say that Kyle MacLachlan portraying the doppelganger is one of the great turnarounds of a leading man portraying a different side of a character that we've never seen before. It's only 4 episodes, but it's so wonderful.
Well, it's a testament to Kyle MacLachlan because, sometimes when you have movies where people are playing multiple roles, you're kind of like, okay, he's got a wig on or whatever. Like I watch it and, we're super into this. So maybe we're bad people to judge against, but like, I don't see, again, it's Kyle MacLachlan, but it's like, I don't see Agent Cooper there. It's like, I see someone else. Meanwhile, Cooper...
Even his skin looks leathery,
leathery, tan, a little greasy. Absolutely. Like, I think he has fully embodied. I mean, even just his mannerisms, the way he speaks. I've always thought, I mean, we've talked about this before. Kyle MacLachlan's a fantastic actor. I mean, we talk about how this is Lynch's magnum opus. I think this might be Kyle MacLachlan's, greatest acting turn. And we've only seen 4 episodes. I mean, he's got more to go.
Mm-hmm. I also think that you can really see him giving it his all. Unlike, I hate to bring it up, but Fire Walk with Me, you could tell he really didn't maybe really want to be there. I mean, I think he did a serviceable, good job, but this really shows you like he put in the work in this in this season.
Well, yeah, true. But I mean, just being fair to him, he didn't have much to work with in Fire Walk with Me. It's he had what?
Well, he could have. He could have. He could have done the Desmond part. So.
And that's fair. That's definitely fair. I just mean like what he did have in the movie. It was it was what it was. There wasn't much to it that he could have applied to it.
Right. But I do think that some of the scenes of him in the missing pieces, I think he's acting better in some of those than some of the scenes we see in the movie.
Well, it's like he has. Well, see, that's the thing. It's like he has more to work with because there was something that I've wanted to mention, and we don't see it as much in this new season. But in Fire Walk with Me, in the missing pieces, when the exchange between the man from another place and Cooper, where he's like, do you know who I am? Do you as the ring now or whatever? Mm-hmm. You're like watching Cooper's face, and it's like he kind of like shakes something off, and that's when he's kind of like, Annie. It's almost like being in the Black Lodge either clouds his mind or wipes his mind, or he's in some kind of fugue where he can't quite grab hold of himself or something.
Right.
Again, we don't really know. I mean, maybe we'll get more development on that in this sequel film series, however you want to call it. But I agree with you. Like that was a nuance that's not really in the scenes that are in the theatrical movie. Mm-hmm. He had something else to work with there, and I always just thought it was a really interesting direction, acting choice, whatever it was.
And it's really interesting too to look at the series so far. And again, I just want to bring this up again. It seems very apparent that while in the screenplay of Fire Walk with Me, there's a ton of scenes that are still left on the cutting room floor that we haven't seen.
Right.
It's very clear why Lynch chose the missing pieces he showed us, because the ones he gave us are all playing into this new series.
That's true.
Because without having that extended above the convenience store about the intercourse between two worlds, we wouldn't know anything about all this electrical stuff going on.
It wouldn't be as clear. I mean,
Right.
those things are sort of
It's
very sort of
it's
surrealistically
it's
in
in
Firewalk with
there.
Me.
It's
Yeah,
in there, but it's not like literally said.
right.
And now it is. Also, of course, the extended Philip Jeffries stuff that plays a role in this as well in the episode too. So, all right. Well, before we watch this episode, there's a couple things I want to bring up. So guys, get situated. We'll probably get going in another 10 minutes or so, but there's a few things I want to talk with Eric first about. One is the Cannes reception today. So David Lynch plays the first 2 episodes of this new Twin Peaks at the Cannes Film Festival today. It was supposed to screen a few days ago, but they wisely held back so that Showtime could premiere it on Sunday, because if they had played it on Friday, the spoilers would have gone through the roof on the internet. So they waited until after the Showtime premiere to play the 2 episodes. There is footage on the internet that I saw on Twitter, actually, that the audience gave these episodes a standing ovation, and Lynch is almost crying watching this happen. And, keep in mind, 26 years ago, he's basically booed out of the stadium for A Fire Walk with Me, which, you can argue pluses and minuses with that film, but that's not a film that you boo someone out of the
Yeah, I don't know that it's worth that. Right.
Palladium. So anyway, it's fantastic to see Lynch getting a standing ovation for 2 hours of basically an 18-hour movie. So they hadn't even seen the whole thing.
Right.
So anyway, congratulations, David Lynch. So happy for you. This is, who knows? When you look at these first 4 episodes, who the hell knows where we're going to be by episode 14?
Hell, episode 5 could be insane.
Well, yeah, episode 3 took it over the rainbow. So
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic news. I'm so happy. But I will say this again. I mentioned this last night. I'm kind of bummed that Showtime split up episodes 1 and 2 now, because I really like that 2-hour kind of presentation that they did.
I didn't actually get to see that because
Okay.
because I was delayed. I had to just watch it from the streaming because
Right.
My episodes didn't start till 9, and I sure as hell wasn't waiting another hour.
Right.
And so I had the ending with the black and white, the giant, and the record player. But you're right. I think it probably would have been more powerful to see those 2 as one unit, particularly with the end with the chromatic song.
Right.
Actually, I did want to mention that because you talked about it a little bit yesterday, but I've mentioned, even though I've loved everything I've seen, and it is very, very good, I'm not like harping on the show as not being Twin Peaks, because I never expected it would be anything like the original series. But I found that the end of part 2, during the scene in the roadhouse where Shelley's there and James and that song is playing, that to me felt the most Twin Peaks that I had seen so far. And I got a little emotional. I'm not crying or anything, but I remember thinking like, wow, like this feels like Twin Peaks to me. It's back.
Also, it was really cool having Lynch and Frost basically troll the James Hurley haters by giving a nice close-up to Machen Hammock to say James has always been cool.
Wow, that was a nice line. Again, I'm pretty sure I leaned over to my wife and said, "That's the most implausible thing I've heard in this episode." It does seem odd to come from Shelley though, just because again, from our experience, again, we don't know what the hell happened over the past 25 years.
Shelley liked Bad Boys. She was with Bobby for who knows how long.
James and Bobby could not have been more different.
But James wore the leather coat too, and rode a Harley. So
yeah, fair.
And he got arrested a few times. So he's a bad boy.
I guess.
Anyway, all right. So let's get to a few of these wonderful comments here. First thing out, I want to give a shout out to a viewer named Justin Duck, and he wrote me today and said, the near lack of Angelo Badalamenti's jazzy score makes this whole new series feel more intense. I agree, don't you?
I do. And what's interesting is that his score is actually there's music and you don't really know it because it's this really kind of low, moody kind of thing. And I know this because when you watch it with the closed captioning on, it will usually kind of give you a music cue like low moody score or something. I think, and I believe you had this thought yesterday, but I think as the series parts, movie, whatever continues, and we spend more time in Twin Peaks, I actually do think the Twin Peaks score will increase.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that, but I share your guess on that, your
Right.
preview of that.
And the reason why I give him a shout out is because, I was talking about, I think during episode 1, about how Richard Beamer was credited for one episode of Twin Peaks and on IMDb. And, we get that little scene with him that kind of just comes out of nowhere in episode 1. And then I was thinking, that's it. That's all. It's just, we're going to get this random scene of Ben and Jerry and that's it. Yeah. Anyway, so Justin went on and said, the reason Richard Beamer is only credited for one episode as of now is because IMDb doesn't know the exact credit orders for the upcoming episodes. For example, all 217 names were credited for the first episode, and I had to correct each one, deleting 195 names, and did the same for the later episodes for 2 and 4, adding names and putting them in alphabetical order. And I will continue to do so in the future. So Justin here is maintaining IMDb, trying to create some semblance of order here. So I applaud you, Justin. Thank you so much. It's going to make our lives so much easier.
Right.
Oh my goodness, that's awful. That sounds like a full-time job.
Yeah. Envy on that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go on here. First thing, viewer named Sarah wrote me and said she thinks the reason why so many scenes seem out of place is because maybe they're all happening at different points in a timeline. She quoted, the line from The Missing Pieces and in this new series, is it future or is it past? Now, I would say maybe, and I wouldn't put it past Lynch and Frost to do that to us, but I do think that if you rewatch these episodes again, I think you're surprised at how linear this series is playing so far. It may seem like it's not linear when you're first watching it, but when you go back and revisit it, it kind of just lays down nicely.
It's actually it's funny. It's actually sort of a straightforward narrative. I straightforward being $10 word here, but it pretty much plays out in a linear fashion, and it doesn't really seem to be like, you might get the impression things are jumping around, but when you really take stock of everything that's happening and the order that it's happening, things appear to be happening in succession.
Right.
You're right, and it could entirely be that we're seeing some things out of order, but it just doesn't appear that way from and episodes 3 and 4. Again, I won't be that specific about it, but episodes 3 and 4, I think, probably hammer that home more than the first two, because there really is a progression of events that kind of build off of what came before. So we'll see, but
yeah, I mean, you never know. I wouldn't put it past if some of these scenes were in a different way. And in fact, something that happens in this episode, I will kind of point out something that might prove true.
That's that's true too. That this episode, because I believe I know what you're referring to, and that could be indicative of what Sarah's suggesting.
All right, the next comment comes from Pierre Alaterre, and he writes, do you think the wealthy VIP New York client at the Great Northern is the same billionaire who owns the glass box in New York? And I'm going to say, probably. That's too coincidental, considering those scenes are kind of right up against each other.
That is true. That they're kind of playing them right.
I mean, who knows? But I think it's a little strange to begin a new series with two mentions of somebody from New York who's, wealthy, right next to each other.
Right.
Okay. This next one comes from TZAP19. And this is kind of fascinating because there are a lot of people out there who think the billionaire who, owns the glass box and is hiring this guy to watch it, that there's a theory out there that it could be Audrey.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I really agree with that or understand. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it because how would she know about the Black Lodge and all that stuff? But TZAP
I mean,
19,
it's been
TZAP,
25 years. I mean, there's a lot that could have happened in that time and things
true,
she could have learned. And
true. But TZAP 19 makes the best case scenario for it. He says the only way he sees Audrey as the billionaire is if she is trying to rescue Cooper like he rescued her from One-Eye Jacks.
well, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
Except that would rob us of what we've been, all the memes out there about Hawk being the man to find Cooper.
right.
I don't know.
All right. So the next one is okay. Let's see where we are here. William Hastings, the principal. I gotta tell you, this has been the most complex subplot I've had to try to figure out, even though it seems like the simplest one. So his secretary is named Betty.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people assume that this is Betty Briggs because Doppelganger Cooper is trying to find this woman Betty who has the coordinates to something he needs, which is probably the coordinates to the Black Lodge, which obviously Major Briggs would have had. But the thing is wasn't the principal supposedly having an affair with Betty? Is that the name of the woman he's supposedly having an affair with?
I thought he was having an affair with Ruth, the woman that was
No,
murdered.
it wasn't Ruth because he had never been in her apartment. Remember, he makes a point that he had a dream that he was in the apartment, but he'd never been to that apartment.
Well, so, and let me just, I don't mean to re-legislate our earlier debate, but this is sort of why I have a problem with the Cooper Bob thing, because I think Bob has been, I think that the principal is another Bob victim. I think that is who Bob is inhabiting. That's who I think the dark image that disappeared from the jail cell, I think that was Bob. I don't know that. I think that was sort of the new representation of Bob in this series, or one of many. And so he could have been having an affair with her, but he the living, like, out there guy doesn't know it, but it was the dark Bob version that was having an affair with her.
But then Doppelganger Cooper shoots his wife Phyllis with her lover's gun, George's gun, the lawyer that represents her husband. And he
Right.
says, basically thanking her for following human nature, and then shoots her right in the head. And then
It's interesting because some people are reading that line as though she's not a human. And my reading of that was more, he's sort of kind of stating the obvious. That's like, she's just behaving like a human, and he's, he knows that, and so he kills her.
but when he shoots her in the head, right when that happens, the whole picture distorts.
Yeah, the screen kind of.
Now, is
Right.
that just a Lynch touch, or is that something else? I mean, I'm sure we'll find out.
Right.
Okay, now, viewer named Jubal wrote me and blew my mind a little bit.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So when Sam and Tracy are having sex in the loft, and then presumably the spirit breaks out, and we see it like basically chew out their faces, basically.
Right.
I made kind of a funny little statement about saying that this is Lynch kind of playing with like slasher tropes, right? He's got the couple and they're having sex, and then obviously they get killed, right?
Right.
Jubal, though, takes it a step further, and I think he got it. I think he nailed it. He said, while it's a little bit of fun of Lynch playing with the slasher formula, Jubal thinks the reason why they were attacked from a spirit, presumably from the Black Lodge, is because, ready for this, Eric?
Listening.
Fear and love open the doors.
Yeah. Oh, that's. Oh, I. No, yeah, I agree.
So them having sex kicked open the door to the Black Lodge.
Oh, that I don't want to sound like a smartass. Like that's kind of what I assumed happened. Because if you remember what's happening, there's the scene like so they start making out, they're kissing, whatever. Then they start having sex, and remember, there's kind of a shot of kind of the machinery under the glass box, and
Right.
you can hear them breathing, making cooing sounds, and that's when you start to, the machinery picks up. You start seeing the box darken. That was my perception, and I remember that line is exactly what I thought of too. Fear and love open the door. The sex drew whatever that creature was. That
Right.
I'm guessing too, but that was how I interpreted it. I think he's accurate. He's right.
So let me take it a step further. So I've been contacted by other people who feel I don't agree with this right now. I mean, obviously, I could agree with it later down the road, but there are people who believe that it was Laura who killed them because she got whisked away from the Black Lodge. Could that have been her getting whisked out of the Black Lodge and through the glass? But I don't think that Lynch would have Laura Palmer become a murderess. I mean, it could happen, but I just considering that I feel like we're heading towards a redemption of Laura Palmer and her being alive again. I don't know.
I gotta say that was one of the things I started thinking on Sunday night after it was all said and done. I remember thinking, damn if Cameron might not turn out to be right on all this, just because some of the things we're seeing and developing are looking that, and just the whole fact that. Oh wait, I don't know if I want to spoil it because I can't remember if it was in episode 2 or in episode 3.
Yeah, don't say it then.
Then I won't. But there was something that specifically kind of made me think Laura plays into what's going on here in a more significant way, and frankly, that ties in with what you have been predicting. But yeah, I don't know that that's Laura at this point. It could be anything. It could be her, I suppose. But
could be anything,
I think the odds are low.
I just don't think that in this new season, Laura is going to just become this like killer.
So I have a question of you, and we'll see. Again, we can talk about this too as we're watching, because some of what unfolds there plays into the idea. But it seems odd to me that Laura tells Dale that he can go, but then he can't go, and then we sort of learn was like, oh well, he has to come back before you can go.
Well, no, she wants him to go. I mean, she has that, like I said last night, she has that face of anger and resentment on, when she's staring at him, sitting down. I think she wants him to go. And then when she walks over to him, there's a voice that's not Kyle and it's not Laura, and it just says whisper. And then she starts whispering in his ear. It doesn't come from either one of them. It comes from an off voice somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She whispers in his ear. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. That's when we get the doppelganger tree and all this.
And if you remember, Cooper recoils too from what she tells him.
Exactly. So I think that she kind of pissed off the Black Lodge by kind of preempting it, saying you can go when the other doppelganger hasn't come back yet.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's the feeling I got. I mean,
okay, that makes sense. I can roll with that. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll find out. I mean, we got 14 more hours to go. Okay. The next thing is I have some correcting I need to do, Eric.
Uh-oh, here we go.
No, one is on the first episode, I was told that David Lynch's wife, Emily Stoffel, had posed for the head of Ruth.
Okay.
And it was not Emily Stoffel, so I was wrong on that. It is in fact Mary Stoffel, Emily's sister, who played Ruth's head.
All right.
So I had the right family, but the wrong woman. The next thing is last night made a couple statements here that I corrected later in the video, but some people obviously don't watch the whole video. And then I also posted something in the comments, but some people don't read the comments. And YouTube has now made it impossible to put annotations now in a video, where like the words come over. Because I was going to just blast over my silly words with the correct factual info. Because here's the thing, back when I used to record these videos, things like things that I knew was wrong or weren't true, I would just delete those moments. But when you're live, you're live. So I can't go in there and make the edits and stuff like that. So it is never my intention to give you factually wrong statements. We can theorize and speculate. We could be right or wrong about those things, but it's not my intention to ever be factually wrong. So I just want to make a couple quick corrections. One is you said, and I said too last night, that perhaps that Osama bin Laden looking black figure in the jail cell is Bob.
Yeah.
I was told by several people that was a kind of CGI rendition of Frank Silva as Bob. Now, I didn't think it looked like Frank Silva per se, but it looked enough where I could, after enough people told me this, I was like, well, maybe it is, because maybe they went for just like kind of a deliberate CGI but not quite photorealistic version of it. So I kind of went with it, and I said that this was a CGI Frank Silva, and I also went with it because I saw Frank Silva's name in the end credits.
Right.
And obviously Frank Silva's name in the end credits was because they used the flashback footage from season 2. So I was totally off on that. We don't know if that's Bob or another spirit or whatever, but it is, as far as we know, it's not a CGI Frank Silva.
So, I got similarly tricked from the first episode, the first part, because as the credits were rolling, it says, Cheryl Lee is Laura Palmer. And I was like, Laura Palmer wasn't in this. And then my wife was like, yes, she was. She was in the flashback at the very, very beginning. And I was like, oh, so they're clearly doing, again, we've seen 2 examples of that where Laura Palmer gets the credit and Frank Silva gets the credit. I think that's Lynch being, well, again, there might be rules that they have to do that, but regardless, that's where those credits are coming from.
Well,
I think.
And what's really interesting too is at the end, we see the log lead in episode 1, right?
Yep.
That episode at the very end says dedicated to Catherine E. Coulson. Episode 2 airs. At the end, it says dedicated to Frank Silva.
Yeah.
Episode 3, obviously we're going to watch it. You guys already know it. You've seen it. But we get an image of Major Briggs. In the end credits, it says dedicated to Don Davis and Miguel Ferrer. So it almost seems like each episode is dedicated to somebody else that has died, and they actually give them a reference in the episode as well, which is kind of a nice touch.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Okay, now the other one that I need to correct is, okay, so Doppelganger Cooper, Bob, or whatever you want to call him, is in the motel room, and he's talking to a voice that it might not be Philip Jeffries. And somebody wrote me and said, I think I know who's playing that voice. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I don't know they didn't tell me who it was. But when I was going through the end credits yesterday, I was extremely tired from this week and everything. Not only from watching all this Twin Peaks stuff, but obviously just, working and day-to-day stuff. While the end credits were going, I saw Al Strobel's name in the credits. And I just quickly glanced up, and I saw Philip, and instead of Gerard, I saw the G. And for some reason, I just saw Philip Jeffries. And I was thinking, oh my God, did he do the voice for the Philip Jeffries scene? And so I looked at that scene and I said, well, it doesn't sound like Al Strobel. But the dialogue in that scene kind of matches what the one-armed man might be saying to trick Doppelganger to get back into the Black Lodge. And I thought, well, they did kind of alter Kyle's voice in another episode.
Right.
So maybe they altered Al Strobel's voice. I was like, but it doesn't sound like him. But again, I thought I saw the end credits say Philip Jeffries. So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's it. So in the last night, I said, yeah, and I believe Al Strobel is doing the voice of this Philip Jeffries trying to trick Bob or Cooper to Doppelganger Cooper, whatever, or Mr. C, as people call him online, to go back into the Black Lodge. And so I went with that theory. And then at the end credits during the watch along last night, I was like, oh my God, no, it is Philip Gerard. I was imagining things, I had seen things, but that's what this new series kind of does. It kind of just plays with your mind. And so yeah, so I apologize for that. It's never my intention to like give you false information like that. But I did correct myself at the end of the video. But I just wanted to correct myself for all you guys watching tonight as well. So again, these watch-alongs are not official commentaries. They're basically watch-alongs. I mean, it's basically a way for all of us to kind of, you know, walk and talk through these episodes. And you know, look, a lot of us have not seen these episodes many, many, many times. I know some of you have seen them 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. I've seen them once, maybe 1.5 times. So this is like really my second time watching these episodes. And we're going to get things wrong. We're going to try not to get things wrong. But I know that whatever we say now, I mean, check back with us in 2 years and we're going to be saying completely different things about these episodes because we'll have seen them many, many times or have the knowledge of the, you know, the later episodes to inform us of these earlier episodes. So
and the final dossier.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we're doing our best, and we just really appreciate, you know, all your support and everything like that. So but all right, well, let's get started, Eric.
Yes, sir. They're getting restless in the chat.
Oh, I bet because some of them are on the East Coast. So anyway, all right, guys, sync up your Showtime stuff. Oh, you know what, can I say one more thing before we go? Because there's one thing else. The last comment I want to bring up is from Misty, and this has to do with what we were talking about in terms of Good Cooper and Doppelganger Cooper and Bob and all that stuff. Misty takes the cake for comment of the day. It's so good that Joel Bacco, who's been on this show and does his own blog about Twin Peaks called Lost in the Movies, tweeted this out. So I just want to give a shout out to Misty. And this is what she writes. Regarding how strong Evil Cooper is emphasized that he doesn't need, but wants, I was reminded of the scene between Cooper and Audrey when she sneaks into his bed in the first season. She asks him, "Do you want me to leave?" And Cooper answers, "What I want and what I need are 2 different things." This implies the inner struggle. The temptation was there, and he needed her to go and not give in. Here, with Evil Cooper, there is no struggle. It's Cooper's dark side boosted under the influence of Bob. Yeah, I think she got it. Seems pretty good.
I would disagree that it's under the influence of Bob. I think he's evil in of himself, but regardless, it's tit for tat at this point.
Well, guess we'll find out soon enough. All right, guys, here we go. We're gonna be starting this Showtime thing. Guys, get ready.
Are we going off of initial play because there's the commercial, or are we pausing after that? How are we?
We're just gonna hit play. We're just gonna hit play. There's that 1 minute Showtime commercial beforehand, and we can just kind of babble through that.
Got it.
So, but I do want to say one more thing, if I can say, since I have Eric here. To me, I know some of you may disagree, but to me, this new series of Twin Peaks is exactly what I wanted to see, but in a form I never could have predicted.
Yeah.
Like it's hitting all the things that I wanted it to be, but it's presenting it in a way that I did not expect it to be presented as. Because
I'd agree with that.
I never expected to see some of these images.
and this is the episode to say that. So
exactly, that's why I bring it up. All right, guys, so get ready. We're gonna start this in 10 seconds. Excuse me, my nose is really itching. We have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Hit play. Alrighty. I gotta tell you, the first time I started these episodes when it was live, and they played the Showtime commercial, this is when I started getting really, really nervous and excited.
It was the fact that they began, when we talk about how it's so linear, I mean, I think even the way that it began, where it just drops us right in, where Laura says, "I'll see you again in 25 years."
Mm,
I almost feel like the show is almost spoon feeding you, like, okay, this is why we're doing this. This was the prompt. Now let's go.
right.
It's one of the more straightforward things that David Lynch has ever done.
I agree, but I'm still flabbergasted that they made that slight cut when she flicks her finger.
Oh, right.
So bizarre. Anyway, we get these abbreviated opening credits from the first episode. Did you like these new opening credits?
I did. I thought it was a nice evolution. I think we had talked about before. I kind of would have preferred to see the new, like, see the same locations, but kind of up to date. But given what we've seen of the series so far, I actually think these new credits perfectly complement
Mm-hmm.
the show. I mean, it really is,
And they have
you
the
know,
same, like title font for
yep.
the original series. And I love this
That I
drone
very
shot.
much like.
Yeah, and I love the drone shot that goes over the falls. This one, it's beautiful.
Right. And the blending, like just the blending of the waterfalls into the curtain, into the zigzag floor.
Right.
That's kind of why I think of it as an evolution of the original series. Is the original series was very much about, the town and the people, and only in the final like 5 or 6 episodes did it start to become this larger story about the Black Lodge, about good and evil. That this show is really embracing that.
Right. And now I know Kubrick is one of Lynch's favorite directors, and Kubrick really loved David Lynch. And I feel like this episode should begin sort of like 2001. It's, my God, it's full of stars. And and here's Cooper just flying through time and space, it seems like. And what a way to begin an episode.
Yeah. And there's been a number of people who have compared this idea with Laura's speech in Fire Walk with Me about
Mm,
falling through space and wondering if you would ever stop. Um, I don't
right.
know whether that was a conscious choice by Lynch, but it was something I thought of too while watching it, that it kind of
Mm,
reminded me of that from Laura.
right. And if you notice, the screen's going all purple.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of this series, in episode 1, we began with a black and white scene, and now we're beginning with a purple scene. Later on in another episode, I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's a scene that's filmed all in blue. But here we have this ocean shot, this is okay. I have to say, this made me laugh when I saw this, because a lot of people are saying, hey, this is a lot of Lynch, recalling some of his earlier films. And Kyle MacLachlan played a character named Paul Atreides in Dune, and his father in that film was played by Jürgen Prochnow, who of course played a woodsman in Fire Walk with Me. So when Cooper stands here at the ledge, he looks like this little man in this great big world, and he looks over the edge and he sees the water. This is like such a Dune shot to me, of like his father standing there overlooking, the it's really cool. But obviously you can tell that these are special effects, that he's on a green screen, but I didn't think it ruined it. A lot of people are disappointed with the special effects and CGI. Were you?
Not at all. And in fact, I think the way that it's done, it kind of keeps the spirit of the original series, because the original series always had these kind of ramshackle special effects. And I'm sort of thinking specifically of Bob taking Wyndham Earl's soul. What an odd, very, very physical effect that they did for that. But I thought it was just a very kind of disturbing and unsettling. And I think the effects in this have been similar. It is CG, and you can sort of tell that, but it's not really polished. I mean, again, even like Laura removing her face in part 2
Mhm.
was such an odd kind of thing that I think it's being done in the spirit of the original series. It doesn't bother me so much.
Right. No, I agree.
So I believe, and I think I'm actually streaming from Chromecast, so I don't know if I'm slightly out of alignment with you, but now we're entering the
Yeah, we're in the room
skip
with
room.
the Asian woman with no eyes. Now, a lot of people online have referred to her, believe it or not, as Josie. But this is an actress named Nae Yuki, and I don't believe that it's Josie Packard. But I will say this: she doesn't talk, right? She just kind of does this barking sound,
Hmm.
which resembles quite a bit, like the parents in Lynch's short film The Grandmother.
Right.
But we have an Asian woman that doesn't talk. And who were we supposed to be introduced to in the sequel to Fire Walk with Me? Josie's sister, Judy. And we don't talk about Judy.
Ah.
I don't know if that's Judy or not. I'm just saying we are, she does kind of occupy time and space here. Literally space in a few minutes.
Is this like the basement of the Black Lodge? I was trying to understand
I don't know. I
what.
thought it was so funny how at the end of episode 2, like, Cooper, when he like falls through the floor of the Black Lodge, it's like, is that burnt oil? Is that coffee? What is he falling into?
Ah, I actually thought that was such a great sequence because it was just kind of neat to see that the Black Lodge behaved in a way we had never seen before.
Yeah, it was like
It,
it was like a child throwing a tantrum.
right, like it was malleable. And it seemed like such a small thing, but I thought that was really cool. Like that the zigzags come apart and split and shake around.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool. This is a very new editing style for David Lynch. This scene. And I mean, yes, it calls attention to the digital nature of the filmmaking, but it is so new and so different that, I mean, you can see why Jennifer Lynch, referred to his new film they was working on as completely, mind-bending.
Right.
Because, I mean, just when you think like you're getting situated, like the image just repeats itself or goes to another shot. Now, we see Cooper looking at this vault and it says 15 on it.
Right.
Now, that's crucial to what's going to happen later. So this vault, just so you guys know, see how it has the circle? It says 15 and there's a circle underneath it, right? That is the cigarette lighter.
Right.
Right? Because if he crawls through that, he's going to come out of the cigarette lighter and
Right.
and get Doppelganger back in. Now, we're going to see later how he gets tricked. But this is the correct vault he's supposed to go out of. Of course, he doesn't know that. And she is going to stand between him and that. She's not going to let him go through that. And so I don't think she's not on Cooper's side here. she's trying to trick him. But yeah,
I did not pick up on that. And I've seen this twice now. That's interesting. I mean, clearly I remembered she prevented him from doing that.
Right.
But I didn't realize I didn't make that connection.
And you'll see that the other, as it goes on, you'll see how this really connects. But yeah, he is supposed to go through that circle thing and come out the cigarette lighter, which is why it's humming and buzzing in the doppelganger's car.
Right.
Now the pounding coming. Later on, we're told that it's somebody's mother approaching, but is it someone's mother, or could it be maybe the boy, the guy, or the boy, whatever, that's watching the glass box? Could it be him walking around, changing the camera chips and stuff like that? I mean, it could be so many things.
Interesting.
But anyway, so she calls Cooper over, and it's, I mean, this is why you can see, like, if you went through 25 years of this kind of crap, your mind might be a little fried too.
That's and that's something that I was sort of hoping, and again, it may still happen, but to me, the fact that Cooper lost 25 years of his life, I sort of hope that there is some bit of attention paid to that, because there's been a lot of talk in interviews from Kyle MacLachlan about, like, oh, he's still, he's seasoned by time, but he's still kind of the same Cooper, that kind of optimism.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see some attention paid to just, he lost all that time in his life and he doesn't get that back, really.
Right. Now, this is something that I didn't think I was ever going to see in Twin Peaks, a scene that actually is in outer space, that we assume is outer space. And then we get this like electrical current coming out of this kind of like, I don't know what this is, but this reminds me, she pulls this lead lever, and it reminded me, of course, of the man inside the planet in Eraserhead pulling the levers. Obviously, we're reminded about the whole electrical current and how in the missing pieces, they kind of spell it out by saying the electricity is, intercourse between the two worlds. And so, I mean, they're definitely setting us up for how where Cooper is, he can get out, but he just has to go out the proper door.
Right.
And so anyway, she touches this and she gets electrocuted, and she will fall to her death, or at least get launched to her death.
Fall into oblivion.
Yeah.
I did notice, and I noticed it with the second time I watched, not really the first, but the thing that electrocutes her and shoots her into space is the first thing he touches when he like goes after her. It's like, how did he know that it was safe to do that?
I know, it's pretty wild. Now, while he's looking into space, we get an image of. It'll be any second now.
Yeah.
Look down, Cooper. Look
Wait
down.
for him to float on by.
Yeah. Anyway, so Cooper looks down, and in the vastness of space, he sees Major Briggs's head kind of floating, and he says, "Blue Rose." Now, this is something I couldn't say with episode 1. I believe the body in the bed in episode 1, that's the male body that's attached to the woman's head, is Major Briggs's body, and then this is his disembodied head from that body.
I thought that Major Briggs died like 25 years ago. When they talk about
he did, but the body could have been preserved, and it certainly did not look like it was, in tip-top shape. It looked like it had been around a while.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? Who knows if this is, real or not? But I'm just saying
it could play into the military thing that we'll learn.
Well, it does, because remember, they took the prints off the body and it came up with military classified.
Right.
But we have the head here, so that's another reason why I'm going with that theory right now. So Cooper, obviously, I love this fact that Lynch doesn't just hurry this along. I mean, he's allowing Cooper to look around. He's taking his time. I mean, Lynch knows he's got 18 hours here. He can give Cooper his moment to look around and see. I mean, look at all. I mean, who knows what's going on out there? I mean, are we in outer space for real? Are we in some sort of interdimension Black Lodge outer space? I don't think we're ever going to find out the answer, but it is a fascinating concept.
And could it even just be a trick of Cooper's perception? That this is how Cooper's human mind perceives the world he's in, even to that extent. Even this stuff, like, what a testament to Kyle MacLachlan's acting. He's not really saying anything, but his face is so expressive.
Oh, yeah. So he comes back in, and he sees Ronette Pulaski sitting on this couch, and but she's credited as American Girl. Now, if you notice, when he looks at the 3, now the vault says 3 instead of 15,
right?
And instead of the round thing, we see 2 holes, which are the electrical outlet to the house. So it flipped on him. It's gonna trick him. He's gonna go out the wrong hole. And look in the corner on the table. That's a blue rose. You see that? Look to the left of Cooper. After Ronette turns her head. That is fascinating.
Huh.
Oh, maybe they won't go back to that shot, but hopefully they will. Anyway, took a second to recognize that was Ronette, just because obviously it has been 25 years and some people have aged. She doesn't look bad, but she does.
She actually does look. Once you know it's her, you're like, oh gosh, yeah, and she looks okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she's credited as American Girl, but we all know who the actress is. She looks at her watch and it says 2:52. Now this actually syncs up with Bob's car, so they're on the right time, and that's why it's now starting to kind of throb, this electrical thing. But they're trying to trick Cooper to go out so they can send Dougie back in, which we haven't been introduced to, I know. But instead of a doppelganger, Dougie was created to keep doppelganger Cooper from going back in. That's the only reason why it was created. So I think it's fascinating, because the first time you see this show, I mean, you don't really remember that it went from 15 to 3, and you don't notice the circle versus the plug. But after you see this and you look at it, it's kind of just, it's not trying to trick you at all. It's actually pretty straightforward.
it's, the imagery's weird, but it's being kind of organized in a pretty straightforward manner,
Right. Exactly. And that's why I think repeat viewings of this show will only impress people more, And let's see. Oh, yeah, he's getting his brain a little fried here. And Run It says, when you get there, you will already be there. And now, obviously, she's referring to Dougie. Oh, actually, no, she's referring to Cooper or Doppelganger, because he's going to have to confront himself because
Right.
Dougie's going to be pulled back in. And I kept looking at Cooper's pin there. I kept hoping that was the Bookhouse Boy pin, but it's not.
Right.
But yeah, he just keeps looking. He's just got his brain fried. You see that? So that's why. And look on the table right there. There's a blue rose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love this kind of. I mean, this doesn't even look like the same actor when it's going back and forth between
Right. It really
Doppelganger.
does look like a different guy.
Yeah, they did a great job with this. I love this idea of just the Doppelganger just cruising down the road at full speed.
Here's a question though. When he talked about wiring the car,
Mm-hmm.
could that be playing a role in this in terms of he wired the car for this?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, and anything's possible. So Cooper is getting sucked into the electrical cord. Now, I gotta admit, I mean, the first time you see this, you're just like, oh my God, Lynch is going full on like old school, like student film Lynch with this thing,
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it does make sense if you look at it. Everything has an emotional resonance to it. You just have to look for it. And of course, he loses his shoes, which is obviously plays a factor in what happens out there in the real world, if it is the real world where he goes to.
So, do you think that Dougie is a literal manufactured person, or do you think that he is just someone that Doppelganger Coop, again, he had 25 years to find someone to do this because he said he had a plan.
It could be either or. But obviously, I mean, he could be replaced, pretty easily. So, they did such a good job with all this stuff. It's so it's like intense, but it's also pretty funny too, this part.
Yeah.
And Lynch does love his car crashes, but not quite the Fast and the Furious, but still it works.
That'll be the next director of the next Fast and the Furious movie.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? David Lynch is going to take Fast 9. Yeah.
I think everything you're saying about like the changing plugs and everything makes perfect sense, but I kind of like some of what happens here now. For me, like it confuses me then because it kind of seemed to me like Doppelganger Coop, the whole act of throwing up Garmin Bozia.
Okay, I just have to say that before it happens, I thought this was just the applaud moment of the night for me on Sunday night because, we had this crazy idea that Lynch and Ingalls came up with, right? I mean, obviously they have the cream corn in the series, but then they come up with this idea that the spirits may have come from a planet of cream corn or, and then they have this scene of Fire Walk With Me with the little man slurping up the cream corn and stuff. The fact is, here's the red drapes coming in. And the fact that they, right. Now look, Rancho Rosa, double R is circled.
Yeah.
All right. So keep that in mind, everybody. Anyway, but the idea of him just blowing chunks of cream corn out, and it's so nasty and it's so gross. But it's like this is Lynch's like extreme visuals, but with Mark Frost's logic behind it. Like, of course, if he's gonna get sick, he's gonna start puking up cream corn, and he's kind of getting motion sickness because he's being pulled. He's going to be pulled through a cigarette lighter. So he's like, his intestines, his whole body is like crumbling around him. And it's almost like, seems like something out of a a Fulci movie or something, with the puke. It's not like just like a little bit of throw up like Dougie does. I mean, it's a full on like gnarly show of it.
It's his is pretty. And then we've got the jade ring back.
Right. And now I have to say that this little pudgy job they did on Kyle with the wig and the body fat suit, whatever. This calls attention to itself, and that's why I think Dougie is sort of manufactured at this point, until I get told otherwise, because it's so obvious, not like a real person. He just doesn't seem like a.
Well, I mean, I don't know. He has like a wife and a son, and
No, but I mean, like in terms of the way he looks,
oh
he looks like Gwyneth Paltrow in Shallow Hal or something here. But look, the way he holds his stomach, that's exactly where Cooper was shot by Wyndham Earle.
right.
Right now, here it comes. Oh my lord, with the red drapes. I love the fact that the red drapes appear in the desert, because that says to me that they don't have to just appear at Glastonbury Grove. They can go anywhere you are. That there's a point of entry anywhere. It's like almost like time bandits or something.
Well, I think in this case, it's because Doppelganger Cooper belongs there. He has to go. It's like literally going to pull him from wherever he is.
Right. So he's
Or it's
arranged
trying
this.
to.
Right. So he's arranged this whole thing, and poor Dougie, he kind of reminds me of Kurt Russell in Vanilla Sky, where he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He doesn't know he's been created. So it doesn't seem like he's in on the plan. You know what I mean? Look, the drapes appearing here too.
Yeah.
So obviously, see, this is yeah. Go ahead.
Well, just and him disappearing too, while different from the way Chet Desmond disappears, it kind of reminds me of that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Chet Desmond disappear. Oh God! Then there's the oh jeez. It's first of all, it's not just it's like black. So there's like something really nasty in there. It's not just blood either. Ugh.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's almost like 25 years of rotting cream corn.
Ugh.
It's so nasty. But it's funny because like the fact that his name is Dougie, right? Well, that reminds you of Dougie Milford, who of course played a pretty big role in Mark Frost's book, Secret History of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
So that name was not chosen by accident. But I think that puking at the cream corn scene is absolutely glorious.
I mean, again, the sound design on it is pretty explicit.
Oh yeah, my wife definitely had to turn her eyes away. But I remember she looked at me several times and thought, "What is this? I thought this was Twin Peaks." I'm like, "It is. It's just following the logic of it 25 years later and saying goodbye to all the newbies that are tuning in right now."
I just don't know that I literally believe the sentence "someone manufactured you." I feel like it means that they manufactured the situation.
Maybe. I mean, we're not gonna. I mean, again, how do we know until we see the full movie?
Right.
But we can only go by what information is presented to us now. The fact that they can just kind of shrivel this guy up and blow his head off and says that maybe anyone could be a stand-in for him.
I think what it is too, like, and I wondered about this, is that Cooper spent years in the Black Lodge, and I think because Cooper is a strong, like, powerful presence, a strong sender. I think you'd mentioned that line from a while back.
Right.
He's able to survive in that environment, whereas Dougie comes here and gets like evaporated immediately. And again, and I know it's for a reason, like this was part of the doppelganger's plan or whatever, but
I wonder if this was the plan for the doppelganger too. Were they going to bring him back and just extinguish him, and maybe that's why he doesn't want to come back?
I don't think so. I think this happened because it wasn't the right person.
Right.
And then similarly, I think that what we will see happens to Cooper. I think if he had replaced the doppelganger as he was supposed to, he would have been fine. But replacing Dougie is what ultimately messed up his faculties.
Now, why do you think the doppelganger tree head comes out of Dougie?
Is he what's absorbing like absorbing him? Because remember
Maybe.
they were like absorbing like Garmin Bozia from Bob and Fire Walk with Me. Is
Right.
he
And now we're left
collaborating with
with
Cooper?
this new thing. So Firewalk with Me introduced the ring. This show's introducing us to this gold marble.
But what's weird is that the one-armed man doesn't even seem to know what it is either.
Right.
Which it's kind of interesting to see some of the Red Lodge people, in really it's largely just Gerard, but kind of confused about what's going on. You know,
Right.
we always had the impression these folks sort of they knew the score and they just weren't telling us or being straightforward about it. But he seems legitimately confused about what's happening too.
He's probably just confused by David Lynch's directions. So, all right. So we get to the plugs,
Here
and
comes Cooper. Someone in the chat earlier made a comment that the previous the plug 15 was like a direct current, whereas number 3 was an alternating current plug, and that is why Cooper's messed up, because like the nature of the connection in the plug was is kind of what messed him up on reentry.
well, he already before he got sucked through got his brain fried, and then he went through because he was supposed to go through the other one, so he came out this one. And but I do have to say this is a lovely shot of Kyle because he actually looks like his old self again. He doesn't look like modern day Kyle MacLachlan. He looks, look at this shot here when she looks down at
Yeah,
him. He looks like the old Cooper from 1990.
yeah.
I like this character of Jade too. She doesn't mess around, and she's trying to tolerate him, but he's just such a doofus. And I think this is something I didn't expect from Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks has always been funny and that type of thing, but I think this whole section from now to through the casino, Kyle MacLachlan does some wonderful, just comedic acting.
I think it must be said too that the character of Jade is probably the the nicest, most helpful person to him throughout this time. Like even though she doesn't quite figure out that something's wrong with him, she kind of gets him from A to B to C. Most of the other people just kind of ignore him and move him along. I don't know, I think she deserves a little bit of credit for that.
Oh yeah, she's just like I like when she some people, I heard that a lot of people did not find this whole section very funny. They actually said they felt embarrassed for the show and for Kyle. And I don't know. I just didn't feel that way at all. I thought they were just having a lot of fun with this with this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is very Twin Peaksy. Like, I think if you're complaining that, oh, well, it doesn't feel like Twin Peaks, I think this kind of does. I mean, when you've seen a series of, a woman dress up like an old Asian businessman, and like this seems part and parcel to the show to me.
Yeah. I guess because, a lot of this show doesn't take place in Twin Peaks, so people just think it doesn't feel like Twin Peaks.
Right.
And also there's not a lot of music.
Right.
So it feels a lot more digital with, natural sound.
Right.
So, people are going to have complaints, and I understand that, but I do think that try to reserve your complaints until after it's over,
right?
Because I think it's going to get more Twin Peaksy as it goes on.
Yeah, I
What do
love
you love?
that he still has the key from the Great Northern in his pocket.
Isn't that wonderful? And I love it. It says we guarantee postage. Drop it in the mail anytime. That's great. This big old key. It reminds me of Wall Street too, when Michael Douglas has the big cell phone. They're showing because modern hotels today do not have like keys like that. Most of them are card keys now. So
right.
He is,
and even those are more sophisticated now, where you don't even have to put them in a slot. You just like touch them to a sensor and it reads it. But yeah.
Right. So this housing development, they're kind of driving through. Okay, so we get this other guy coming up, and him and his friend are planning to assassinate Dougie because he owes the casino a lot of money. So are we to assume that the casino is hiring them to kill this guy? kill this guy, or do you think that this is another thing that has yet to be uncovered yet?
Well, and maybe I'm just missing something. I thought these guys were working for Doppelcooper because he kept saying he has a plan and he's got like he's got pieces in place to deal with it. I thought
Yeah, but
he
why would
kind
he
of
want
had
to
this
kill? Why
engineered.
would he want to kill him if he wants them to get sent back to the Black Lodge?
No, he wants to kill Cooper, not Dougie. He
Right.
sent them to
Hey,
be
hang on.
there
So I have to just
knowing.
say, I have to just say this right now. So they just passed Sycamore Street, and
Yeah,
the other street was called Little Rock, as in Let's Rock. And I'm gonna have to talk more about that tomorrow because it's gonna play into episode 4.
right.
But just remember the Rancho Rosa, the Double R, the Sycamore. There's a very good possibility that not all is right with what we are seeing here. But I guess we'll find out soon. But I'll go into more detail tomorrow.
Right.
I did like this moment where he had to duck down, and it's just played so funny.
Yeah.
This hitman is just so easily tricked. But yeah, the doppel. I thought I thought the doppelganger, he didn't want to get pulled back in, so he created Dougie to what? To be a failsafe to be pulled back in, correct? That's
Well, I think that was his plan all along. That is, if he can substitute someone to go back in his place, then he won't have to go back. And I think he understands the rule, which Gerard will. I don't want to go that. I don't want to get into episode 4 stuff, but
right.
there's another element to if the doppelganger doesn't go back, something necessarily has to happen. I think the doppelganger knew that already. So that was what this was for. I think he sent these guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're right, because clearly Dougie has some backstory and some things going on in his life, but I just perceived that these were agents of Doppelcooper.
See, I think that these right now are agents of the casino, because there's a character in episode 4 that is talking about, like, did you pay them back and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now we have this crackhead who keeps saying 119, 119, which of course is 911 backwards and plays into the title, Call for Help. Again, with a deck of cards right in front of her.
Right.
There's just cards everywhere. I'm beginning to think, I'm probably totally wrong, but I think we're gonna get a call back to Wyndham Earl at some point in this series with all these cards and everything.
Yeah. This lady here was probably the one thing that I really didn't get. If you know, or if people in the chat have a theory, again, 119 being backwards talk. So again, I'm clearly it's significant in some way, or it's some detail that's important, but I didn't quite get it.
It's just it could just very well be a Lynch sideline thing,
That's true.
Kind of like in Wild at Heart, when he shows like a guy in the road car accident and the man in the wheelchair is like, same fucking thing happened to me last year. Oh,
Right.
Yeah, it's just like this weird thing. And but who knows? Maybe this will play a factor later.
Right.
We don't know. Still got 14 more hours to go through. And I can't believe how dense these initial 4 episodes are. There's a lot of stuff going on in these 4 episodes.
I think we talked about this in the countdown, that I was just very worried that we were going to things were going to start off very softball. They were going to try and bring in newcomers. And so I was just very happy to see that it's not even a question of, were they going to start from 0? They started from like level 50 and we're only at like level 30. Like, I have no idea where this is going. Like, so I was just very happy to see that. Like, they're not coddling us at all.
Not only that, but I mean, by the time you got to the 3rd episode, I mean, you were thinking, at least I was, there's no way they're bringing any new viewers into this show. Because I mean, you can't even my wife said it perfectly. She said I would have to rewatch the original series with a microscope to begin understanding what this is. And I agree to a point that I think you have to watch the show, but I think you have to also kind of have thought about the show and internalize it a little bit to grasp what's going on here, because they're playing with the fact is you've been thinking about this for 25 years as well.
Yeah. Beautiful shot over the top of the sheriff's station. That was wonderful.
Yeah, and I do love the donut disturb.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Now, I will mention Joel Bacco again. He thinks, and you know what? I'll agree with him. He thinks that these scenes in the sheriff's station between Hawk, Andy, and Lucy are very much more in tune with the missing pieces sheriff scenes than the ones we see in the show. Because in the show, they're always kind of peppy, upbeat with that jazzy score.
Yeah.
These scenes, I think, while I think they're very funny, they're very drawn out.
I I gotta say, and this was something my wife and I were talking about too. Andy and Lucy were always goofy in the original series. Like I'm legitimately asking the question: did these two have a stroke at some point in the last 20? Like they don't seem goofy anymore. They seem slow or dumb. I never really thought of them as like dumb before, and they seem a little bit off here.
Well, I will say
Um,
this. I think this scene is, I remember watching this going, I think this is one of those scenes where people started changing the channel. Because it just goes on and on about this callback to the chocolate bunny, which of course, played a
I
role
was
in the
so
pilot.
happy for that callback. I was like, wow, that's like a level 10 geek callback. Because my wife didn't even remember it. I was like, how do you not remember that? That's one of the funniest scenes in the pilot.
Right. Now, of course, Hawk's trying to find, what could is his heritage, what is he missing from his heritage? I do want to say that there's a picture going around of a book that's in Ruth's apartment in episode 1, and the book is called Indian Heritage.
Ah,
That, I don't know if that's going to play a factor later or if it's just kind of a nice little Easter egg. Somebody else wrote in and thought maybe the Owl Cave ring is missing here, since it began with the Native Americans, if you go by Mark Frost's book.
hmm.
So that could be something. Um, I'm thinking that now this doesn't have anything to do with Hawk's heritage, but I'm thinking he's got all this Laura Palmer stuff spread over the table, and it's going to be in another episode as well. And I'm thinking that he's going to come across the what's left of Laura Palmer's diary, the Harold Smith did not destroy, and he's going to find Annie Blackburn's warning to Laura because she had to write it in her diary, and he's going to know that Cooper was stuck there.
Interesting.
Now that has nothing to do with his heritage, but I think that's going to play a role somewhere in this series.
I was thinking, and maybe I just think in a very straightforward manner, which puts me in danger for this David Lynch stuff, but I thought that the heritage thing was just simply going to be the Black Lodge connection. Hawk was the one who kind of gave us the big mythological download on the lodges in the original series. Again, even the marketing for the new season had that Hawk speech from I forget what it was, like episode 17, 18. Um, but perhaps there's something more nuanced about it than that.
I do think this scene is really funny, but I got to tell you, it is for new viewers or people who don't know the show as well as we do. This is an excruciatingly long scene
Yes.
for something
Yes.
that pretty much goes nowhere. But
Right.
I think it's funny when he Cox like it's not about the bunny, and of course you see the donut box says RR to go
Yeah.
because now the Double R Diner delivers.
Well, I think they always delivered, didn't they? Because remember, Andy went and got a plate for Sheriff Truman.
Yeah, they went and picked up stuff, but they didn't like.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe it's a new thing. I don't know. Maybe they bring a car around.
And now we
Guess we'll
go
find
back.
out. I mean,
Yeah.
I do find it interesting that we've been 4 episodes and we still haven't seen Norma yet, or
Right.
or Ed.
Yeah.
So
And now we're back with Dr. Jacoby in the woods, or Mr.
right.
Jacoby. I don't know what happened to his practicing license.
So here we have him spraying the 5 shovels he got in episode 1. He's spraying them gold. Now, something I want to bring up. We had a man named Chaz on the podcast with us on Sunday right before the show came on.
Mm-hmm.
And Chaz wrote me and he wanted me to throw this out there for you guys. He's thinking that maybe the shovels are being painted gold because his idea is that maybe Jacoby is going to use them to dig up Laura Palmer, and then between the gold ring, between the gold marble, and the thing that really freaked him out was that the original DVD set for Twin Peaks was called the Gold Box. That and then of course someone else was saying, well, maybe this has to do with the fact that they're going to dig underneath the 5 trees or so at Glastonbury Grove. And I don't know what the hell you'd be digging up there, but I this is very peculiar. And again, we've seen Jacoby in episode 1. Now we're seeing him here, through the mask. Gotta say, for new viewers, they don't know who the hell this is or what the hell's going on. Everybody else is like, oh, it's Dr. Jacoby. What is he up to?
I mean, but this is just classic David Lynch. Like, film someone doing something for a long time.
But it's not boring to me, because you're trying to figure out what is he going to do with this.
And the contraption he's using is very interesting too. The kind of the shovel hanging thing with the pedals and
I love how he taps it and they all turn around simultaneously. It's a great touch. I have had some people say to me, isn't it weird? You'd think that Dr. Jacoby would have moved to Hawaii by now.
I think that, Jacoby lost his practice after, sleeping with a 17-year-old. And I think this is, again, why he's out in the woods here, I don't know. But I don't think things went well for Jacoby.
Yeah, guess we'll find out. Jade is dropping Cooper off at the casino, which this whole scene at the casino, I have to say, it's comic gold. But I know for a lot of people, they hated it. They really hated it. But I thought it was really funny.
Yeah. See, even Jade, like, she actually makes a count. You had a little, maybe you had a little stroke or something. I think she's the only one that's like actually picked up on how odd he's behaving.
Well, she thinks it's Dougie. I love how Cooper is just kind of, he's not really rediscovering the world. He's just kind of inhabiting it.
Right.
And I like how she says, you can go out now, and then it dissolves and replays Laura saying it. And I mean, it is something that Lynch doesn't typically do, which is like remind you of callbacks. But this, like I said, this show is so dense, and that you kind of need that a little bit, at least initially. She's just pushing him out of the car. Get out.
I think it was more of a visual that he was remembering that turn of phrase.
Right. No, that's why I think it works, and it doesn't call attention to itself as being like a, fan service moment.
Right.
I love this. Look at this doorman. Just, what the hell is this guy doing? He's like, oh, Jesus. And I love it when Cooper walks through the door. Watch the bump that happens. He like walks in, and he just kind of stands there, and then the door just bumps him. Here goes.
Yeah, the door keeps like pushing him along.
Oh, it's so funny.
To me, this whole thing with like Cooper being like this is like the scene with the old waiter at the beginning of season 2 taken to its natural, like, full David Lynch realization.
Yeah,
it's
but
like, you got mad at me because I spent the first 20 minutes of the second season premiere with an old waiter asking about milk temperature. Well, hold on to your shorts, because here's what I got next.
Yeah, but this is like, seriously, like somebody who doesn't even know what planet they're on, just walking into this place, and it's fantastic.
But it's just like classic Lynch withholding wish fulfillment. All we've wanted for 25 years is Cooper to get out of the Black Lodge and do something. And it's like, well, he's out of the Black Lodge, but here, it's going to be a while before he's doing something.
And I did sort of predict it. I did say he would be out of the lodge by the end of the 4th episode. But he's out in the 3rd. But he's not quite, you kind of expect him to get out of the Black Lodge and be like, I'm back, better than ever, like Leland Palmer or something like that. And no, he's out and he's catatonic, walking through a casino.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he wasn't officially out by the end of like episode part 2. just because the way it was framed as like a 2-hour movie, I think again, that's what you might expect would
Right.
happen. Clearly,
Right.
Lynch and Frost are not interested in giving you what you expect, and I love it. The fact that you said it best. You said you're getting what you wanted, but not in a form that you expected you'd get it. That's why I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the magic here of
And
David Lynch.
and I'm telling you, if you do not like this, go back and watch it again, and now you know kind of what to expect, and now you'll be more open to it.
Agreed.
You know,
Agreed. I was having a little bit of a hard time with it the first watch through, and then when I watched it the second time, I was laughing a little bit more. I, could follow along with the things that were happening. I think that first night I was just so amped up and so focused.
right? That you're sitting there just like, what on earth is this? But I wasn't not liking it. I just was like, this is truly bizarre. I felt like Lynch, in a way, was sort of trolling everybody that first.
Yes. Yes. I remember when Cooper was like in the
Okay,
box and then the box came
hang
back
on a
out.
second. Hang on. Here's the catchphrase of the night
Yep.
right here.
Yep.
Hello. Now, I'm going to say this.
Hello.
Here is the most unrealistic thing of this whole series so far. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Not the outer space stuff, not the Black Lodge stuff, not the doppelganger tree, not going through an electrical current. The fact that a casino is, one, still dealing with coins is not real. They all do paper slips now. The other thing is that when Cooper sits down, and oh, by the way, we see this like red curtain, and the floor from the Black Lodge, and he kind of follows it around the casino.
Mm-hmm.
It so looks like the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter. So it just cracks me up. Anyway, but when Cooper goes and sits down, he puts in 1 quarter. Now it may say 25 cents, but in order to win the major jackpot, you have to play all 3 coins. And he only puts 1 coin in and wins the jackpot every time. And one, like I said, casinos do not pour change out like this anymore. It's all paper slips. But there's no way he could win the jackpot with with 1 quarter. But I think he is kind of blessed with electrical powers because I think he's just kind of messing with the machine with his presence.
I also so Josh McDermott from The Walking Dead appears in a 4-second cameo.
Mm-hmm.
A major character from The Walking Dead just kind of comes in, says something weird, and walks away. And I fully have no expectation that we're ever going to see him again. And I just think that's really funny that seems to be like a guy who, David Lynch said, "Hey, you want to be in this?" And he's like, "Oh my God, yes." And that was the role he got out of it.
Yeah. I just love this little Black Lodge Sorting Hat. He's just following around this little, looks like a little witch's hat just floating around the casino. Now, special props has to go to this old lady.
Oh, a very Lynchian character this old lady is.
Oh yeah, the fact that she flips Cooper off in a few seconds is hilarious. Look at her. She's just like. Now, I gotta tell you, I've been in many, many casinos. There are people all over that look like this.
Yeah. There was someone on Reddit who took the sounds of the phonograph, the thing that the Giant and Cooper were listening to, like the odd clicking, skipping sound, and they sped it up, and apparently it sounds just like the pulling of the slot machine arm. I don't know if that is in fact what that sound is meant to convey. Maybe it's meant to be the lever from the outer space station that Cooper was in with the blind lady. I don't know.
I just want to say that the lady that comes up and tells Cooper, you won, and here's your check for $28,400. This is Sabrina Sutherland, the executive producer of the whole show. But look at the old lady. I love her face. She's like, "What the hell, that bastard? You won all that money."
Yeah.
But there, he's feeling the little hat again floating around. Oh my God, it's just so absurd. He's like pointing.
Kyle MacLachlan better at least get nominated for an Emmy. Like if he doesn't, it's all a sham.
Look at her. She's like flipping him off. No. He's like telling her like, "Hey, you should win that." So he goes to another machine and he wins there too. And so she's got to try that one. It almost seems like whatever machine he touches, look at, she's like, Okay, he left all the money. No, I'm gonna look up at the camera. Crap, they're gonna discover I took all this money.
And
Oh my
so
god.
this is supposed to be in South Dakota?
No,
Or are
this is
we this is Vegas now? Is that where we
yeah,
are?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But some people think that these casinos are gonna play a role, that maybe this is Hawk's heritage, that maybe he's got some investment in the casino from his.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But
Something's missing and it has something to do with your heritage. That's interesting.
yeah.
God, Kyle MacLachlan, where have you been in my life?
I know, it's just so nice to see him playing like a man again.
Yeah.
But yeah, see,
A
because
brain dead man, but a man nonetheless.
yeah, see, it says 3, so you're supposed to put all 3 coins in, and you only put 1 in. But whatever. I'm just saying, out of all the unrealistic, quote unquote, unrealistic things in the new Twin Peaks, this is the most unrealistic thing. Not the fact that he's winning all these jackpots, is that he's winning these jackpots with 1 quarter.
I still think it's the James was always cool line. That's the most unrealistic thing. Uh-oh. I don't know if we've lost Cameron. If so, then it's just me. That's a little jarring. We're finally seeing Gordon Cole and Albert Rosenfield for the first time in 25 years. In the chat, SPF 50 says that James' line was so sweet. I do agree with you on that, by the way, but again, James gets picked on a lot, and so I just again I'm sort of joining in, but I actually do agree. I actually thought that was a really heartwarming line, and per what I was saying earlier, I actually thought it was one of the more Twin Peaksy moments from that episode. It's always sort of bothered me too that.
Did you hear what I said about the FBI headquarters? Because I think I lost you for a second.
I thought I lost you.
Okay. Well, anyway.
I'll be interested to see how this video turns out because I thought you were gone.
Yeah. No. Did you hear what I said about the titles? That the titles.
No, I didn't.
Oh, so the titles that say Philadelphia, Pennsylvania FBI headquarters are in the exact font as Fire Walk with Me.
Right.
And so I thought that was interesting that the original titles of the show is used for the Twin Peaks titles, but then all the other font is done in the Fire Walk with Me font.
Right.
But yeah, I can't believe we lost each other for a second. Hopefully, but it's still going, I think. So now we have Tamara Preston telling Albert and Gordon Cole stuff. Now this is Krista Bell playing Tamara Preston, who of course is the author of the book. Krista Bell is hamming this up like she's Vampira, and
honestly, she's probably the one character who I felt was sort of out of place. I don't really know what she's playing at.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, David Lynch works with Chris Isaak and David Bowie and stuff, so he's used to work with singers. But I don't believe that the way she's playing the character in this scene is the character that we read in Mark Frost's book.
No, actually, because there's an actual actress who I know. I actually have to look up her name. Who plays her in the book? Who's a really good actress and she's been in a lot of great stuff.
Isn't it Amy Shields?
No, no, it's not.
Oh, but I love this moment where they showed the spirit in the box, and David Lynch goes, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, she doesn't do a terrible job, but it is a little bit of a hammy performance. Now, here's the thing. This is where we get tricked. Okay, so we know that Cooper is in the casino and he needs to call for help. You keep saying, "Call for help, call for help." So we're thinking he's calling the FBI, but in reality, they're getting called because the other Cooper, doppelganger, has been picked up and he's at the prison.
Right.
and which we're going to see in the next episode. But what's interesting is because the doppelganger Cooper was downloading the plans to the prison in the previous episode, I know he didn't mean to crash, but he did mean to transport guns over the state line so he could go to that prison and take out Ray.
Right.
So he's where he wanted to be.
Right.
Right. And he apparently, spoilers, he's going to have 2 days to be there. So that gives him time.
Right.
I think it's a fascinating thing that you don't really realize. You just think he got picked up and there it is. But if you remember in the last episode, he had planned that the whole time.
Right.
To at least get into the prison. I don't think he expected to be arrested.
Right. Before we enjoy the musical performance, the actress I'm thinking of is Annie Wershering.
Okay.
She was in 24. She was on Bosch on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Good actress is all I'm saying. A step above Miss Christabel.
I don't think she does a terrible job. I'm just saying it just seems a little like she's definitely mocking it up for the camera. Yeah. Now, am I wrong? I could be totally wrong. But if you look at this shot of the people dancing on the left, I think that's Brad Dukes. And that quite gray hair. I'm pretty sure the guy who wrote Reflections on Twin Peaks, I'm pretty sure that's him. He'll probably say, no, it wasn't him, but I think it was. So
I sort of feel like if he had been in it, he would have been telling everybody.
I know, but I'm convinced it's him. So what do you think of this idea of every episode basically ending with a Roadhouse performance?
It feels very Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was glad you referred to it as the Bronze and one of your others, because that was exactly what I said to my wife. I was like, "Oh my gosh, is the Roadhouse the Bronze now?"
Right.
But no, I actually like it, and I think even this, while this song doesn't hit me quite the way that the Chromatic song did, I think this takes me back to a kind of Twin Peaks mindset. Music played such a strong role in that series, and even in Firewalk with Me too, by the way. That hearing it and the way that David Lynch shoots it is just so beautiful that I like it. I like the idea. I mean, it'd be nice to kind of change things up. Like, I don't know if every episode needs to end this way.
Well, here's the thing, though. It did change it up when they split up episode 1 and 2, because episode 1 now ends with the giant and the phonograph.
Right.
But when we first saw it, that the second episode that ended with the Roadhouse music, and then this is, it's funny because you can see people talking about the show online, and you can tell who are the Twin Peaks fans and who are not the Twin Peaks fans talking about this, because everyone calls this the Bang Bang Bar, not the Roadhouse. So,
yep.
Right away, you give yourself away by calling it the Bang Bang Bar, people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was like a Variety article that called it that, and I was like, "What the hell is the Bang Bang Bar?"
Or people who claim they're fans of Buffy and Angel and Firefly, and they call him Josh Whedon. That always cracks me up. Or Giles.
Well, that's just not understanding English.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this, as you noted, in memory of Don Davis and Miguel Ferrer.
Right.
I like that touch.
Filmed in Washington State.
Love it.
I mean, you can tell though, because the sheriff station definitely looks like the sheriff station and not the set from the show.
It is, and it's jarring for me to see that, especially since I was just there to kind of see it. The building has hardly changed.
Come on, the Lynch Frost Productions logo is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I always loved that growing up when I would see it on one of their shows.
Yeah.
Absolutely great. Chat's going. I don't know where they are. It looks like they're at the casino. So how far back did they get? I don't know.
I think we're talking about Christabel's ass right now.
No.
I see some people talking about that.
Christabel's ass comes into play in episode 4, people, not episode 3. George saying we were off stream for 1 minute. I don't know what happened. I guess Bob came in and did something.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I was talking because when I thought you had dropped, I thought I was the only one on, so I kind of kept going, thinking that you'd get back on, but
Well, it eventually came back on, and it was,
Yeah.
and we're still recording, so we're
Yeah.
we're good. So anyway, we're gonna wrap this up. So what are your thoughts about this episode, Eric?
Uh, Upon first viewing, it was a mind-bending episode. I mean, truly, there were parts of it I was laughing out loud during a lot of the parts in the beginning, and especially Cooper getting sucked into the electrical plug. I
Mhm.
laughed out loud because I remember my wife was just like, "What are we watching?" Because she watched the original Twin Peaks with me. She enjoyed Twin Peaks. The new series is a little weird for her. I don't know that she falls into the category of people like you're talking about, Cameron, who are like flipping off the channel. But I think it's possible that if I wasn't kind of making her watch it, that she'd still be with it.
Right.
Um, but I thought it was good, and now that I've watched it, now this would be my third time. I think it's even like it stands up. It gets better,
Mhm.
like especially once you have more of an awareness of what's happening. And like you say, it's actually pretty straightforward. The way the story's advancing, strange things are happening for sure, but they're all happening in a reasonable order. You get it. Um,
Now, understandable. The first time you see it, it is what the hell is happening.
right. Right.
But if you,
Especially that very long scene of like the choppy editing and you can't understand the woman. You're just kind of like you're thrown for a loop. Like it's tough to digest it, but
but
once you get through it, it makes some sense.
But I think that, us talking through this episode, I think it will show people that this is not an inaccessible show. It
Right.
actually, if you give yourself over to it, it actually makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
in a very
And
interesting, scary way.
and fortunately too, and that's just the thing is that even though we don't know, like I don't know that they're ever going to explain how it is that these beings use electricity to travel from place to place. But at least for me, I was grounded by the fact that Fire Walk with Me presented this idea of electricity. And again, it's better explained, better developed in the missing pieces, but that's why when I saw the plug on the wall, I was like, holy crap, he's going to go through that. And it seems like such a ludicrous thing to say, but I was kind of like, this makes some sense. I'm getting it.
Mhm.
Um, and so, it makes sense in a David Lynch way, I
No,
guess.
because as bizarre as it is, there are rules, and they're not breaking those rules.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, Lynch isn't known for his continuity with rules like that. But again, we've always said that Frost and him together would make sure that it would match up and sync up. And while a lot of people have told me, I don't feel Mark Frost's influence on this show, I can tell you 100% he's there, because the reason why these things make any sort of logical
Yes.
sense within these rules is because Frost is
Yes.
maneuvering them to make some sense.
Lynch has and like the script, the bones of what we are watching have been built and organized by Mark Frost without a doubt. Now, David Lynch, when he films them, is very much in David Lynch's visual language, but he's still following the template that they built together.
Mhm.
And that's why, even though you're seeing outlandish, weird things, similar to some of what we saw in Fire Walk with Me, this, I follow this so much better than I follow that crazy convenience store scene and some of the other stuff in that movie. And again, I know some people are going to pillory me for that,
But
but
I would say that even if you were spotty with Fire Walk with Me, I think that this new series now puts Fire Walk with Me in a context that you can appreciate more, because it's not the last thing you're seeing of Twin Peaks. It's an extension. And if this is expanding upon that extension, well, then that makes Fire Walk with Me look even better.
exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, in terms of this episode, I like it. It is very much it's a middle episode. It very much has that feel. It literally opens with our main character falling through oblivion, and sort of ends with him just sort of in a casino, meandering about. Um, so it's clearly it's a middle point between A and B. Um, and I
But
and I
look how much they filled in between A and B. They gave us a lot to chomp on.
I mean Cooper's out of the Black Lodge now. Yeah, I mean, which that's a major thing. Um, And again, in true Lynchian style, he gave us what we wanted, but not the way we wanted it, because Cooper's out, yes, but he's not really Cooper. Not
Right.
yet.
Oh, he will be.
So an idea that I floated with you, and I wonder what the people in the chat think or whatever, but is that if we're supposed to view these 18 parts as a movie, as Lynch does, and it's a movie in 18 parts,
Right.
I wonder if it will follow the general structure of a movie, in that it would be 3 acts. And so my theory would be that, part 6 would be the end of act 1. And if it is, then conceivably part 6 might have some interesting, exciting developments. Again, what those are, gosh, who could even guess what'll happen in 2 episodes after what we've seen? But I wonder if it will follow that logic. It may not, but it's something to think about.
Well, one thing we've seen with this episode is that what seems illogical at first becomes logical amongst closer inspection. So,
Right.
So I'm not too worried about it. But anyway, man, we've been going about almost 2 hours. We should probably say goodnight to everybody. And
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow we are doing episode 4. Can't wait to do that. Don't know the time yet. Maybe a similar time as tonight, but yeah. And then this weekend we'll be doing like group discussions about all 4 episodes. So again, thank you again for all your support. Really appreciate it. And make sure to like these videos and subscribe to the channel and share the videos and all that good stuff. And until tomorrow, you take it easy, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.